This week on Houston Newsmakers, lawmakers speak out, starting with Congressman Gene Green. What's going on in Washington, D.C., or more importantly, what's not happening? Why? What will it take to change the environment in our nation's capital, and how are we in Southeast Texas being helped or hurt? Reaction to the president's first trip abroad, congressional investigations, his response to calls for impeachment, and more. From the Dean, Southeast Texas congressional delegation. Lots to talk about from Austin as well. The 85th legislative session wrapped up with fireworks and controversy, literal pushing and shoving in the House. What was the Senate thinking about? What was accomplished? Senators Whitmire and Betancourt, and a Newsmakers Extra.
From KPRC Channel 2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
Good morning. Congressman Gene Green has represented the 29th Congressional District since 1993. Now in his 13th term, he served longer than any representative from Southeast Texas, represents a district that takes up much of the east side of the Houston metro area. Good morning, Congressman Green. Good to see you, as always.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come.
You know what, this is the first go-round, the first several months of the new president. When he was running, he was talking about draining a swamp and getting rid of people who've been around for a long time. That's you. You've been around for a long time.
Well, I don't have to answer to any president. I answer to my constituents.
And that's a good thing for them.
In our district, Secretary Clinton actually carried it by 70% last fall. So I have my marching orders. You know, I worked for years on health care and energy and jobs in our district, and I'm going to continue to do that. Expansion of health care opportunities, whether it's the Affordable Care Act or whatever ends up passing, I want to make sure our folks have access to health care in East and North Houston.
I want to take a look at your district because it is kind of unusually drawn. The blue area there, and it's kind of east side. It goes down to Hobby, includes a little Hobby airport, east almost to the port. Do you consider the port?
I have about half the port.
Half the port, and then up, and there's a little comma type thing that goes up just south of Bush Intercontinental, then down along Interstate 45. That's an unusual district, is it not?
Well, our districts were drawn in 2013 by the federal court, but don't get too used to them because in July they're looking at changing them again. I don't know if it'll impact Houston, but I've heard that it could impact Austin, San Antonio, and South Texas, Corpus Christi, and maybe even Dallas-Fort Worth. But when the federal courts draw our district, we're all subject to, you know, whatever they do. So, but I've had so many different districts in that area. It's hard to find a neighborhood I haven't represented at one time or another. I was a state house member, state senator, and now in Congress. So I know the neighborhoods. I grew up in the community.
You've seen a lot happening here, and wasn't that long ago that in Washington, D.C., the president held a little news conference out there in the Rose Garden or somewhere out there, and they were celebrating the passage of the Republican version of the Health Act, or whatever the name is they're calling it, but they had voted to repeal the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. What were your thoughts at that passage? It clearly was a passage that didn't have any Democratic votes involved. What do you think about it now that it's gone to the Senate? What's going to happen to the health care bill, and how does it affect your people?
Well, in the House, first of all, the Affordable Care Act, I was on the committee to help draft the Affordable Care Act. We didn't get everything I wanted. Before the Affordable Care Act in our district, 44% of my constituents who worked did not get insurance through their employer. And so they would have to buy their own health insurance. And so many of them went uninsured just because the cost of health care was so much. Since then, we have 20,000 people who are on a national exchange to buy their insurance if their employer doesn't cover it. And also, it would help if Texas would have expanded Medicaid, 100% federal funding, but Texas refused to do it. Louisiana did it, Arkansas did it, New Mexico, a lot of our neighboring states did it, but 46,000 of my constituents in North and East and South Houston would have had some type of health care if the state would have taken that federal money.
How much of the failure in some areas of the Affordable Care Act is based upon politics as opposed to the environment, the marketplace allowed to be able to do what it's supposed to do?
Well, then political environment. President Trump and Republican majority have tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act literally for 7 years. And of course they couldn't get it through the U.S. Senate, and if they did, President Obama would have vetoed it. This time they got it out of the House, and it's over in the Senate now. And the bill that they've passed out of the House, barely. We had 20 Republicans and all Democrats voting against the Republican plan that's now in the Senate, and the Senate's working on it. What it would do in our district, it would devastate with the 20,000 folks we have that's on the exchanges, because so many of those folks on the exchange get subsidies because they don't make enough money to pay for it. And so the Senate, though, is working their will. They've created almost like a select committee of senators to try and work on it. The problem is I don't think they have one Democratic senator on it. And in the Senate, it's 52 Republicans, 48 Democrats.
So are you optimistic at all about something being done that's going to be beneficial to your constituents or not?
Well, if they don't do anything, the Affordable Care Act will stay in effect. And I would like to go back and fix the Affordable Care Act. There are things that we need to work on. No law that's ever passed by Congress or the state legislature is ever perfect. So typically what you do is after a couple of years, you go back in and say, let's see what's working and what's not, let's fix it. We couldn't do that because of politics in Washington, because you couldn't get elected in a Republican primary if you said you wanted to fix the Affordable Care Act. Right. Your answer for all that was just repeal it. And now they're trying to replace it. It's tough to replace it, as the president acknowledged. Healthcare is hard to deal with.
Right, right. Well, we'll keep an eye on all of that. I know you will as well on behalf of your constituents. But there's a lot of attention that's being diverted from the business that you need to do in Washington. There's all kind of investigations going on. You're watching now the House Investigative Committee. They're looking into all the things related to Russia. Are you confident that there's going to be a real objective look at what's been going on and whether or not there was any kind of tie between the Trump team and Russia and all the other things associated with that?
Well, originally I wanted an independent commission appointed, but we have a House committee that's going to do hearings. We have a Senate committee on it. We have a special prosecutor appointed by the FBI director. So we have 3 different investigations going on now, and it seems like every day something else happens. This last week we heard that Attorney General Sessions actually met other times with the Russian representatives that he didn't report when he was going through his background check. So that's an issue that can be corrected. But you know, when you're going through a background check to be a appointed official like the Attorney General or anyone else, you need to make sure you're thorough in what contacts. Russia is not our friend. President Putin wants to recreate the Cold War, where the Soviet Union and the United States were battling each other, sometimes through surrogates in Vietnam, South Korea, everywhere else. He wants to recreate that, and we don't need to go there. We need to try. We tried to work with Russia, but they're more of a dictatorship now than anything else. Yeah,
Congressman Al Green called for impeachment. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, he said impeach, and I don't get the sense that you're one of those people who would stand up and say that, but what's your reaction to what he said?
Well, I want to see where the evidence goes, and Al was a former justice of the peace and a lawyer just like I am. You know, these are allegations, and we want to see where they go, and it'll depend on the investigation from the special prosecutor, also from what the Senate committee and the House committees. We need to see what contact there was between Russia and people in the Trump administration, including even President Trump and his investments and his people who've helped him build these luxurious hotels all over the world, that he may have a tendency to be more friendly with the Russians than I think it's in our national interest.
Well, you're right. There's a lot still out there for sure. We're going to talk more with Congressman Gene Green coming up after the break, when we'll also talk about where there is most agreement and optimism, and also his view on the sanctuary cities bills being passed here in Texas and elsewhere, what he's hearing from his predominantly Hispanic district. That's next when Houston Newsmakers continues.